President Lai Ching-te wants military reservists to get more hands-on experience with drones.
无人机的操作与应用纳入后备部队的训练，是国军后备训练的新的里程碑。
Two foreign elections may have big ramifications for Taiwan. A new report shows Taiwan's manufacturing continues to grow, but for how long? Plus, deadly storms sweep through South and Southeast Asia, leaving over 1,000 dead. A warm welcome to Taiwan Plus News. I'm Leslie Liao. Reservist units are now training how to operate drones, a new step in President Lai Ching-te's plan to improve Taiwan's defensive capabilities amid increasing threats from China. More on this from our reporter Larry Isiano, who went to Yilan to see the training.
President Lai Ching-te is visiting reservist units here on Taiwan's east coast as they carry out drone training exercises, part of the military's expansion in this field. Lai recently announced a $40 billion special defense budget, and Taiwan has rolled out major drone procurement plans, boosted benefits for specialist units, and is now training reservists to operate drone systems.
我们将无人机的操作与应用纳入后备部队的训练，这项变革是国军后备训练的新的里程碑。
All of this, part of a broader push to strengthen the country's defenses in the face of growing threats from China, which claims Taiwan and has not ruled out taking it by force. The president says the country plans to be ready to respond to a potential invasion by 2027, even as Taiwan faces daily gray zone threats in the air, at sea, and online. But the Defense Ministry is betting on drones to help with reconnaissance, intelligence gathering, and long-distance weaponry. The Defense Ministry is set to acquire nearly 49,000 domestically made drones over the next 2 years, 34,000 first-person view drones, along with around 5,000 bombers and medium and small-range loitering munitions, as well as more than 700 coastal surveillance drones. All drones would be 100% free of Chinese components. Meanwhile, Vice President Bi Kim Hsiao told Natalie Winters in a sit-down interview for the War Room that Taiwan hopes to further collaborations with the U.S. on drone development. Much of the world's drone supply chain currently depends on China, leading countries to seek alternative sources. Taiwan has already signed agreements with several European nations to provide drones that are 100% free of Chinese supply chains, and the country is also planning an industrial park in Chiayi to manufacture drones. Although less glamorous than displays of air power and big-ticket naval combat drills, these training exercises are crucial to Taiwan's overall defense strategy. The president says the goal is to make sure that reservists are training regularly on new equipment, so that if a conflict ever were to break out, Taiwan would be fully prepared for whatever comes its way. John Su and Larry Isiano in Yilan, Taiwan for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has been closely watching 2 elections in other parts of the world. That's because changes in leadership in those countries could also mean changes in their diplomatic relationships with Taiwan. Kata's Koranta has more.
The results of several recent elections in the Caribbean and Central America could potentially have significant effects on Taiwan's diplomacy and its diplomatic allies. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, one of Taiwan's current diplomatic allies, a political party that has previously said they supported cutting ties with Taiwan, has won the country's recent election, its leader just sworn in as prime minister. Although the party hasn't commented on this issue since the polls closed, and it wasn't something brought up during their campaign this year, it does raise questions about the stability of Taiwan's ties with a country under new leadership that has indicated wavering support in the past. Despite that, Taiwan's foreign ministry appears confident that ties remain stable. It emphasized Taiwan's ambassador to the country had already met with the newly elected prime minister to congratulate him, and also said this.
台湾与圣国建交44年来，两国邦谊笃睦，关系深厚。我国的大使馆与圣国的朝野各界人士也都保持良好的互动以及情谊，所以我国也会在既有的良好合作基础之上，继续与新政府紧密合作，深化双边关系。
And in Honduras, vote counting is underway in another election that could also carry great weight for Taiwan, the country's presidential race. Honduras is not a diplomatic ally, having cut ties with Taiwan in 2023 in favor of China. But on the presidential campaign trail, 2 of its 3 front-runners indicated their support for reestablishing ties with Taipei. And with around half of the votes tallied as of now, those 2 pro-Taiwan candidates appear to be in the lead. Analysts say there's a sense of disappointment with voters over how relations with China have hit Honduras's economy. Since 2023, Honduras's shrimp industry has collapsed, and its trade deficit with China has only increased. With so much at stake, Taiwan's foreign ministry said Tuesday that it's paying close attention to the results. It also used the situation to criticize China, suggesting it's an unreliable diplomatic partner.
那这种情况呢，实际上是再一次印证中国始终未能够善意履行承诺，同时也印证了若干国家的外交转向，在与中国建交之后，简单的说就是未蒙其利，先受其害。同时，也再次暴露出中国在国际社会上处心积虑、积极打压台湾的国际空间。
China claims Taiwan as part of its territory under its One China principle, meaning diplomatically, countries are forced to pick a side. There are currently only 12 countries that give diplomatic recognition to Taiwan instead of China. That number has sharply declined in recent years from over 20 in 2016, as China increasingly puts pressure on countries to switch. So those that have kept or are thinking about reestablishing ties with Taiwan are being closely watched, especially around election time when foreign policy can change. Despite that, it's no guarantee that past statements or statements made on the campaign trail will turn into concrete foreign policy changes. So we'll just have to wait and see how things actually play out. Scott Huang and Cadence Quaranta for TaiwanPlus.
St. Lucia's ruling party has maintained its legislative majority in elections this week, meaning the country's prime minister is set to stay in power. The governing Labour Party won at least 13 out of 17 seats in the legislature's lower house. During the campaign, Prime Minister Philippe Pierre called for stable economic management, while the opposition made the island's citizenship by investment program a central issue, advocating for more transparency. St. Lucia has official diplomatic relations with Taiwan, and Pierre has been a consistent advocate for those ties. With his party's re-election, relations between the 2 countries will likely remain stable. The U.S. will lower its tariffs on South Korean imports to 15% after Seoul introduced laws aimed at increasing investment in the U.S. The new rate, down from 25%, will take effect retroactively from November 1st and comes after Seoul pledged to invest $350 billion in America. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said the move unlocked the full benefit of South Korea's trade deal with U.S. President Donald Trump. The reduced rate extends to car and airplane parts and aligns South Korea's rates with those seen in deals with Japan and the EU. Taiwan's economy is heating up. New data shows growth in most sectors, even as businesses say they're nervous about the months ahead. Figures from the Zhonghua Institution for Economic Research show November's Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, was up for both manufacturing and services. Both sectors scored above 50, indicating expansion. But businesses' 6-month outlook is still negative, even though confidence improved over the previous month. Managers say they are worried about market uncertainty and the impact of U.S. tariffs. Researchers say the growth in manufacturing is being driven by demand for AI servers and year-end car sales. The service sector saw a boost thanks to shopping festivals. For more on what the new CIER data means for Taiwan's economy, Chris Gorin spoke with Chen Shin-hui, an analyst at the institution.
The new PMI data released by CIER shows growth in many sectors of Taiwan's economy. We know that much of Taiwan's growth comes from the tech and AI boom, but how are other sectors doing?
So while the PMI can be growing in the 2 months, you just get the answers because the high tech and the AI related product still quite strong. And now it's the end of the year, the December. For the brand company and the brand customer have given orders to 2026. So if one perform very well, they may make other divergence cannot be found in GDP. But if you see the industrial category, you will find, for example, material industry still very weak. Steel materials mostly are steel and the papers. if you have papers for bugs. And also if you see the chemical industry, for example, the petrochemical industry, still suffer by competing on China's industrial for lower price. Also for transportation industry.
While the data shows growth in much of the economy, the 6-month outlook of many of these businesses remains below 50, meaning not quite optimistic. Tariffs are often cited as a concern, but what else might be keeping these outlooks down?
And why people are still not optimistic about the future? But you should know that the contraction rate is slower compared to the previous months. This means that some people turn their future outlook to optimistic. That's because that for traditional industry, we just mentioned that, and for non-manufacturing, because the geopolitical risks still will higher, so they are feel about uncertainty about the future. The uncertainty is not limit for the tariff. Tariff is just one kind of geopolitical risk. And geopolitical risk not happen in the demand of the industrial product, but also for the financial market. As I just mentioned, exchange rates, the market, and the interest rate. Interest rate will impact people to buying car, buying house, and even to buying a machine for industry.
There's been a lot of discussion about a potential AI bubble or overinvestment in the tech industry. As you interview company managers for your surveys, have any of them expressed this concern to you?
So far, if I ask the different managers, they will have different story. Well, for some people, if you limitize the AI bubble to the infrastructure, they may have wondering, will we invest too much money on this infrastructure? But I have also interviewed some managers. They have produced some AI-related products, such as service. They say, no bubbles. We have numbered orders, and the orders will be counted in million billions of United dollars. So if you talk about AI-related products, you should more detail to say infrastructure or the software or for low budget in AI. I think you will get totally different answers.
That was Chen Shin-hui of CIER. German tech giant Merck says its new $580 million semiconductor materials park in Kaohsiung will help supply local chip makers.
170亿的投资很重要一件事情就是，就像我刚刚有提到的，我们要根据客户的需求，我们跟客户紧密的合作，还有业界的伙伴们紧密的合作。我们希望能够依据需求来做分阶段的在地化生产。
Jade Park, what Merck calls a semiconductor solution megasite, officially opened in southern Taiwan Monday. Company executives say the facility will start production next year. It will focus on supplying materials critical for cutting-edge AI and memory chips, which executives and officials say will boost supply chain resilience and local production capacity.
我们有这么多的伙伴们在台湾，让台湾的半导体生态系非常的完整。那尤其是在补足我们材料以及 很多 delivery 设备的这一块呢的不足。
The company says the facility features sustainable design and offsets half its annual electricity use with renewable energy. Over 1,000 people are dead and hundreds more missing across Asia as storms sweep the continent's tropical regions, leaving very few areas untouched. John Van Triest has more.
For residents on the Indonesian island of Sumatra, shock and dismay, days after cyclonic storm CIER smashed into their homes. In Indonesia alone, 600 people are dead and close to 500 are missing. And flooding has killed around 200 more in nearby Thailand and Malaysia. Cyclones don't normally form so close to the equator, and survivors like Rosmina are still surprised at how sudden the floodwaters came.
Tiba-tiba ada orang lari dari kebun sana.
Suddenly, someone ran from the garden. Come on, run, run. The big water's coming, he said. So I immediately ran to save my child. Get out of this house. Save my child. The water from this house was already up to their knees.
Udah selutut mereka air dari rumah ini.
Not everyone was able to make it out in time. Mohammed Rais explains what happened to his family and their home. Now, nothing more than a plot of sludge.
How many people lived here?
There were 12 people here.
Did everyone survive?
No, we lost 2.
Who?
My mother and mother-in-law.
Southeast Asia isn't the only part of the continent facing shock and a massive cleanup. In Sri Lanka's capital, Colombo, Cyclone Ditwa may have passed, but low-lying streets are still flooded, motorboats replacing cars in some places. More than 300 people are dead, and over 200 more missing amid the flooding and mudslides. The country hasn't seen a storm like this in years, and the country's president says it's the largest natural disaster in Sri Lanka's history. That includes the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami.
The flood this time isn't as massive as the one in 2016, but the water level is actually about 7 feet higher than then.
In Sri Lanka, the suddenness of the floodwaters took some people by surprise.
In the night, things were normal. By the next morning, everything was underwater, including our house. 7 of us, including children, took refuge on the top floor. There are another 15 adults still there. Their houses are completely underwater.
Meanwhile, yet another storm, Koto, is approaching Vietnam, where it has already killed several people. It now threatens to cause more damage after weeks of heavy flooding in the country. And so, the devastation continues throughout Asia, with a large and growing death toll, homes and livelihoods damaged or destroyed, and a long and painful recovery still ahead. Delphine Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up after the break, Australia's controversial new social media ban for kids 16 and under.
And I'm sick of the social media giants shirking responsibility because it is their platforms.
From a small studio in Taiwan to a global community for undaunted voices.
I'm just very grateful that they are able to spend time being part of Taiwan Talks and also being here with us today.
It's so refreshing that from a different country, from Taiwan, we are actually getting to see a show without noise, without yelling, and it's just complete facts and expert opinion.
Every single episode is about a Taiwan perspective.
Taiwanese speaking something from our heart.
Bringing forward all these different perspectives and voices to engage the world more seriously and continuously.
So the world will know that we are part of this globalized world.
British warship transited the international waters.
We're facing
without compromising our national security.
Definitely a lot of potential for these countries.
How important do you think that is?
The rule of law based order.
It's been 3 years of almost every waking hour devoted to the show. Today, we have something, and that something is precious.
For more stories from Taiwan and Osaka, download the TaiwanPlus app.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Japanese and Chinese vessels had a standoff near the disputed Diaoyutai Islands off the coast of Taiwan. The two countries gave conflicting reports of what occurred near the islands, known as Senkaku Islands in Japan. China's Coast Guard said a Japanese fishing vessel illegally entered the waters before it was expelled, but Japan's Coast Guard said it drove away 2 Chinese Coast Guard ships as they approached the fishing boat. The confrontation comes amid rising tensions between Beijing and Tokyo after Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae suggested Japan might intervene in any Chinese conflict involving Taiwan. Taiwan also claims the islands. The European Union has ended a trade dispute launched against China in 2022 over its alleged targeting of Lithuania. The complaint lodged with the World Trade Organization had accused China of blocking imports from Lithuania after the Baltic country greenlit the establishment of a Taiwanese representative office in its capital, Vilnius. China claims Taiwan as its own and does not like moves by other countries it sees as recognizing Taiwan's sovereignty. Beijing denies ever formally boycotting Lithuanian goods. The WTO says the case was abandoned because its objectives were met and a normal trade has started again. On December 10th, Australia will become the first country to impose a complete ban on social media for children under the age of 16. As Irene Lin reports, some say the rule will help prevent kids from seeing harmful content, but others worry it may not be enough.
And as I say to people, behind my smile is 1,000 tears.
Australian Mia Bannister is still grieving the loss of her teenage son, Ollie. After enduring months of online bullying and suffering from anorexia, he took his own life. She's chosen to commemorate him with tattoos.
I'm living my life for him. That reminds me why I'm here.
Bannister blames Ollie's death squarely on social media. She's one of many in Australia voicing support for an upcoming ban on platforms like Facebook and TikTok for users younger than 16, the first in the world. She says if the government can't hold platforms accountable for failing to stop the spread of harmful content, it should at least keep children from using them.
I can't bear seeing another suicide and child death due to online harms. And I'm sick of the social media giants shirking responsibility because it is their platforms and the unfiltered, unchecked, I guess, content that is absolutely fueling it.
But not all parents in Australia agree on banning social media outright for young teens. Zoe Jones, whose 12-year-old Ava is an online influencer, says the government should not decide how people parent their own kids.
I would say that, yeah, they are protecting as best that they can. I mean, they're a platform. I'm her parent, so I guess it's my responsibility to protect her the best that I can when in a manner that she's on social media.
And she's not the only one who thinks the ban is a brute approach to online safety. One expert warns parents might start letting their guard down about what their kids are engaging with online and that teens will find workarounds.
Is that young people will then go to other online spaces to connect, and that those spaces aren't regulated and there may not be transparency around them. So potentially creating more risk for young people.
Some young people are already looking at ways to stay on the apps or finding other ones not affected by the ban. And others, like 15-year-old Noah Jones, are taking action. He and a fellow student are suing Australia's communication authorities over the ban, calling it unconstitutional. Jones says some of his peers worry that once the rule is in place, kids will be too afraid to seek help if they find themselves in trouble online.
When kids do things in secret, that's when things can be really harmful. Say they experience online bullying or they experience predators. How are they going to report that to police or parents? Because they weren't supposed to be on the social media platforms in the first place.
Jones says that ultimately it's the social media companies' responsibility to filter out harmful content, rather than deactivate teens' accounts or block them from joining. But tech giants that run the platforms have continually struggled to monitor content safely for all users around the world. As a result, governments are left with two options: stop platforms from collecting children's data or keep kids off them altogether. Now, with just a little over a week until Australia's ban takes effect, other countries are watching to see whether it works. But for parents like Mia Bannister, who've seen the toll social media can take on kids, the ban can't come fast enough. Howard Zhang and Irene Lin for TaiwanPlus.
If you're in Taiwan and having thoughts about suicide, call Lifeline Taiwan International at 1995. A rural school on Taiwan's west coast is turning floating marine trash into art with little help from the community. Jonathan Kaplan has this story.
Xinbao Elementary School sits just about 2 kilometers from the open waters of the Taiwan Strait.
It's in a rural area of Zhanghua County with a strong sense of community. And with the community, it's teaching students to care for the sea by using their own creativity. The sea here is often littered with trash, but teachers and students dutifully head to the shore to clean up what they can. Then the students transform what had been garbage into art, as part of a special program the school is fostering.
可能真的你在人家眼里看到的是垃圾的部分，带回来跟我们学生一起做创作，然后慢慢的让他们对于周遭的人事物会更有一些感受啦。
And the resulting works don't just sit around in the school. For the past 3 years, they've gone on public display at a local bookstore as part of a show, with professional artists contributing their own works too.
只是很像劳作这样小型的，可是艺术家给他们视野就不一样，所以我们让小孩子去知道说，透过这种艺术呈现的方式，开始了解我们自身的历史的文化跟脉络。
The display theme is Protector Gods of the Sea, something one artist involved says can have a range of interpretations, but with an important message.
海洋守护神是什么？有人会说像妈祖啊，还是说海神波塞顿啊？但是其实我觉得真正海洋守护神是我们每一个人，保护海洋是我们应该尽的责任。
The school believes that with just a little creativity, students can take an early lead in protecting the ecological health of the place they call home. Scott Huang, John Van Trieste, and Jonathan Kaplan for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Taiwan Plus News. You can visit the Taiwan Plus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, have you ever seen Santa riding on a reed boat? Well, now you have. Fishers in Peru are donning Santa suits and offering free rides to kick off the Christmas season. I'm Liao. Take care and see you next time.